Welcome back to Days of Our Lives, where secrets rarely stay buried, where trauma always returns at the worst moment possible, and where one troubled young girl is about to push Salem into one of the darkest spirals we've seen in years. Today, we're diving deep into the newest storyline shaking the fandom, Rachel Black's shocking mental collapse, a crisis so intense that fans are already predicting a mental institution stint. Is this the turning point that finally forces Brady to admit the truth? Is this the moment Rachel's dangerous behavior finally gets exposed for what it truly is? Let's explore it all, her motives, her psychology, the hidden dangers, and the terrifying consequences for everyone involved with her. This is the moment everything in Salem shifted. It didn't start with a tantrum. It didn't start with jealousy. It started with research, the kind a child Rachel's age should never be doing alone. After digging through the internet, Rachel discovers something chillingly specific. Sarah Horton Kuriakis has a severe, potentially fatal pistachio allergy. And instead of asking questions, instead of telling Brady, instead of warning anyone, Rachel decides to use it. What follows is not childish curiosity, it is methodical planning. She orders pistachio ice cream in her own sundae. She keeps the scoops separate. She waits for the right moment when no one is watching. And then, with disturbing calm, she transfers the pistachio ice cream into Sarah's bowl. Not impulsively, not clumsily, but deliberately. This wasn't a prank gone wrong. This wasn't a moment of childish rebellion. This was a calculated, strategic act based on information she consciously sought out. Rachel knew exactly what pistachios could do to Sarah. She knew the allergy could close Sarah's throat. She knew Sarah could collapse, stop breathing, and die within minutes. And she still went through with it. Yes, Rachel tries to backpedal at the last second, but a moment of regret doesn't erase the reality. She created a lethal situation with intent. The near-death nature of this attack exposes something terrifying. This is not misbehavior. This is not acting out. This is a psychological siren, blaring at full volume, demanding to be acknowledged. A child intentionally choosing a method that could kill someone? That is not normal. Not for Salem. Not for anyone. This single action marks a turning point, one that Brady can no longer ignore, and one that may push Rachel past the point of return. Rachel's pistachio sabotage didn't come out of nowhere. It is the latest, and most dangerous, chapter in a long, troubling pattern that has been slowly intensifying. Before she tried to poison Sarah, Rachel pulled Thomas DiMera into her chaos. Together, she directed him into a reckless pumpkin-throwing spree. The scene looked playful on the surface, kids having fun, acting out, being silly. But the truth? Rachel orchestrated it. She encouraged the chaos. And she did it knowing someone could get hurt. Before Thomas, it was something else. A lie to cover another lie. A manipulation to get what she wanted. A cold disregard for consequences, even when adults tried to intervene. Her behavior has evolved in clear stages. Stage 1. Misbehavior, small lies. Tantrums. Rebellion. Nothing unusual, at first. Stage 2. Manipulation, twisting rules. Using people. Learning how to avoid blame. Stage 3. Coordinated scheming, recruiting Thomas. Creating chaos. Taking pleasure in watching others fall for her plans. Stage 4. Targeted danger, choosing specific victims, specific triggers, and specific moments. Stage 5. Near-lethal decision making. The pistachio incident marks her crossing the line from troublemaker to someone who knowingly orchestrates harm. This is not random. This is not accidental. It is escalation, consistent, measurable, and alarming. And the most unsettling part? Therapy hasn't stopped it. Rachel has spoken with Marlena. She has had sessions with Dr. Fuller. She has been given tools, guidance, and emotional support. Yet nothing has slowed her descent. Because Rachel doesn't simply misbehave. She tests the limits of control. She pushes boundaries harder each time. She escalates until someone gets hurt, and even then, she feels more panic about getting caught than about the consequences of her actions. This is no longer a child acting out. This is a child losing control, while believing she is in complete control. And that combination, danger plus confidence, is what makes Rachel more unstable than anyone realizes. If the pistachio attack was the spark, then what happens next is the explosion. Rachel's mind, unstable, overwhelmed, stretched to the breaking point, finally snaps open a door she had slammed shut long ago. And in the November 21st episode, that door bursts wide open. Out of nowhere, a memory comes rushing back with the force of a tidal wave. Rachel Black was the one who shot E.J. DiMera. Not an accident she witnessed. Not something she misunderstood. Not a blurred, childlike moment of confusion. She pulled the trigger. This isn't just a forgotten detail. This is a traumatic event her young mind forcibly buried to survive. The flashback is intense, visual, emotional, suffocating. 1 second she's standing there. The next, she's reliving the sound of the gunshot echoing through her small hands. The recoil, the panic, the terror, the instant collapse of her world. This is the memory she locked away so tightly that even therapy couldn't reach it. A memory her brain protected her from, until now. And when it hits, Rachel breaks. Not a tearful breakdown, not a tantrum, a complete internal collapse. Her breathing stutters, her eyes widen, her face drains of color. It's the look of a child realizing she did something unforgivable, something irreversible, something life-changing. But the emotional damage doesn't stop there. Because after the memory returns, a second revelation hits even harder. Kristen DiMera, her mother, gave a false confession to protect Rachel. A child's secret sin, a mother's desperate sacrifice, a crime that could rip apart the DiMera family if it ever surfaces. The weight of that truth is enough to crush anyone. But Rachel is a child already drowning in guilt, fear, and spiraling mental instability. She suddenly understands that her actions didn't just hurt EJ. They tore apart her family. They forced Kristen to lie, to sacrifice her freedom, to shield her daughter from unthinkable consequences. This is emotional devastation at its highest level. The horror of remembering the shooting, the guilt of causing a near-fatal attack, the burden of knowing her mother took the blame, the fear that the truth could destroy her life forever. For most adults, this would be traumatic. For a child like Rachel, it's catastrophic, and it sets the stage for a psychological collapse that no one in Salem is prepared for. For months, maybe even years, Brady Black has convinced himself he can handle Rachel's worsening behavior on his own. He thought it was a phase. He thought she'd grow out of it. He thought being patient, gentle, understanding was enough. He blamed the environment. He blamed Kristen. He blamed the stress of the custody battle. But he never once allowed himself to consider the truth. Rachel is dealing with a level of trauma and emotional instability that a single parent cannot fix. And now, the consequences of his denial are staring him in the face. Sarah nearly died. Thomas was dragged into mayhem. Memories of the EJ shooting have resurfaced. Kristen's lie is collapsing. Rachel is spiraling out of control. This is not something Brady can hug away. This is not something he can discipline out of her. This is not something a bedtime talk can solve. Brady is facing a storm of issues that would terrify any therapist, let alone a single father. Trauma, the shooting, the memory suppression, the resurfacing. These are deep psychological wounds. Guilt. Rachel now knows she caused her mother's false confession. Violent impulses. The pistachio sabotage wasn't impulsive, it was planned. Emotional instability. Her mood swings, panic attacks, and defiance are escalating rapidly. Loss of control. Rachel is no longer rebelling, she is acting out trauma with dangerous consequences. Salem's viewers see it clearly. Marlena sees it. Even Kristen, as chaotic as she is, would understand the severity of the situation. But Brady? He's still trying to hold everything together with sheer willpower. The heartbreaking truth is, Brady is outmatched. He is trying to parent a crisis that needs professionals, not a father's love, not calm explanations, not patience. Rachel is on a path that could end in tragedy if no one intervenes. And the real question now is, when will Brady stop pretending he can fix Rachel, and finally accept that she needs serious, possibly inpatient, help before she destroys herself, or someone else? Because the longer Brady hesitates, the more dangerous Rachel's spiral becomes. At this point, Rachel Black is no longer a child who misbehaves. She is a child standing at the center of a psychological hurricane, a hurricane made of trauma, guilt, fear, and impulses she can't control. And with every new episode, the pressure building inside her mind becomes more visible and more dangerous. So inevitable, that fans everywhere are asking the same chilling question: is Rachel headed toward a mental institution? Based on her escalating behavior, the signs are pointing strongly toward yes. Here's why. 1. She has created life-threatening scenarios, more than once. Sarah's allergic reaction wasn't a slip-up. It wasn't carelessness. Rachel engineered the situation from start to finish. She researched Sarah's allergy. She chose the moment. She delivered the trigger. A child capable of planning harm, especially harm that nearly kills someone, is showing extremely concerning psychological patterns. 2. Her emotional swings are dangerously fast and unpredictable. Within minutes, Rachel can go from anger, to laughter, to panic, to guilt so heavy it breaks her. These are not mood swings, not anymore. They are emotional crashes tied to unresolved trauma and overwhelming stress. 3. She is reliving trauma through flashbacks she cannot handle. The moment she remembered shooting E.J. DiMera, something inside her fractured. The guilt, the terror, the awareness of what she had done. These flashbacks are not short episodes. They are breaking her psyche open, flooding her with memories her brain spent months trying to bury. 4. Brady can no longer control or understand her behavior. Brady has always tried to be the calm parent, the reassuring presence, the gentle protector, but now, he's watching his daughter slip away. Her actions no longer have explanations. Her emotions no longer have logic. Her outbursts no longer have predictable triggers. He's out of his depth, and deep down, he knows it. 5. Kristen's false confession is crushing Rachel's conscience. Imagine being a child and realizing, your mother went to prison, your mother lied to the police, your mother sacrificed everything, for something you did. That kind of guilt doesn't fade. It festers. It corrodes. It pushes an unstable child even closer to the edge. In clinical terms, Rachel is showing emotional dysregulation. She cannot stabilize her feelings. Trauma-induced behavior spirals. Her actions are directly tied to psychological pain. Impulse control failures. She reacts before she thinks, especially under stress. A disconnect from consequences. She often understands the damage too late. Increasingly violent problem-solving. Her responses to conflict are becoming more extreme and more dangerous. Put simply, Rachel is no longer safe, not to others, and not to herself. Salem isn't dealing with a troublemaker. It's dealing with a child in active psychological crisis. With everything spiraling, Days of Our Lives is clearly building toward a major turning point, one that could reshape entire families, alliances, and future storylines. Here are the most likely directions the show could take next. 1. Rachel is admitted into a mental health facility. This is the storyline many viewers expect, and hope, to see. Not as punishment, not as exile, but as treatment. A structured, secure, medically supervised environment where Rachel can unpack her trauma, confront her guilt, and learn how to control her impulses. This arc could last months, even years, and open massive emotional storylines for Brady, Kristen, Marlena, and the entire Salem community. 2. Brady and Kristen enter their biggest war yet. Both parents are unstable in different ways. Brady is overwhelmed and guilt-ridden. Kristen is desperate and fiercely protective. A mental health crisis could send them into a legal, emotional, and moral battle unlike anything we've seen, each believing they know what's best for Rachel, even if their choices clash violently. 3. EJ and the DiMera family become deeply involved. The truth about the shooting cannot stay hidden forever. If EJ learns Rachel remembered, or worse, if Rachel tells someone in a panic, the DiMeras will retaliate with force. Power, lawyers, vengeance, secrets, manipulation. This could ignite a full-blown DiMera war. 4. Rachel runs away or spirals out of Salem's control. In many soap arcs, children in crisis try to escape before anyone discovers the truth. Rachel might flee. She might hide. She might spiral into behavior more dangerous than anything we've seen so far. That possibility is frightening, and extremely dramatic. 5. The shooting truth explodes across Salem. Once the secret surfaces, every character involved will face fallout. EJ's rage, Kristen's guilt. Brady's shame, Rachel's breakdown. The DiMera family's revenge, Salem's moral judgment. This isn't just a reveal, it's a storyline detonation. Rachel's crisis becomes the spark for a chain reaction that could change every relationship around her. Rachel Black has reached a tipping point. Not just emotionally, not just psychologically, but narratively, in a way that could shape days of our lives for years to come. She is a child pulled apart by dangerous choices, buried memories resurfacing. An overwhelming sense of guilt. A mind cracking under pressure. A family built on lies. And a trauma she was never prepared to face. Everything around her, every secret, every breakdown, every emotional eruption, is building toward one truth Salem can no longer ignore. Rachel needs psychiatric help. Real help. Not discipline, not comforting words, not parental promises, professional intervention. Will Brady swallow his pride and admit he can't save her alone? Will Kristen's lies finally unravel and force the truth into the light? Will Rachel enter the facility she desperately needs to regain control of her life? Whatever happens next, one thing is undeniable. This storyline is only in its opening chapter. And the fallout? It will be explosive, it will be heartbreaking, and it will change Salem forever. Stay tuned, because the darkest, most emotional phase of this storyline is just beginning.